Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and today we're checking out some new knives, and we have a bunch to get through. First one is the new TKL Accomplice, and seems like somebody's trying to steal my ideas. No, I'm just joking. My knife designs are named after the justice system or crime. Accomplice would fall right under that. I think it's a cool name. Outer Limitless is the designer, so I'm guessing he picked the name, and I think it's a badass name. So shout to Outer Limitless. Like I said, he's the designer, and these are available right now. Right now you can buy them, which isn't typical from Tim. Typically you have to do pre-orders and stuff like that. This just dropped. It is available. This is, in my opinion, a great knife overall. I haven't carried it as much as I'd like to because I went on the trip to Oregon, but you know, I did carry it for a couple days. Very ergonomic, very comfortable in the hand. Blade shape is super versatile. Now it's in 80 CRV2. Typically not the biggest fan of that, especially for like EDC purposes. But it is basically a steel for combat knives, you know, knives that need to be indestructible. So I do think it has a place. I would prefer the AEBL in this case, but, you know, it still is, you know, it's still going to do you just fine as long as you don't mind, you know, sharpening it and stuff like that, because it doesn't hold a great edge. The corrosion resistance isn't the best. Tim does have coatings that he puts on his knives that seem to work pretty well, but 80 CRV2 is going to be mostly for toughness and extreme abuse, which, you know, might be exactly what you might need this knife for. Great push-off point, great sheath, as always from Tim. No rattle, no tap. Look at this. You can see the texturing right there for the push-off point. Great launch, and like I said, man, just so comfortable in the hand. The hardware, I believe, I can't remember. I know it's like from the military. It's like the same steel they use in like machine guns or something like that, which is really cool. And it's nice and big, so you know you're not going to have to worry about stripping those out. And it is a full tang construction. You can see the machine lines on the bevel. I have not resharpened this one yet, but it did come with a nice low edge angle, which I do appreciate. And this one is a bit slicier than some of the other knives I've seen from Tim, so I love that as well. But yeah, available right now if you guys want to check it out. 100% USA made. All the parts are sourced in the USA. So yeah, let's get it. Next is, actually we're going way down. So next we have a budget knife. This is the FLISSA No-Name. They need to put some names on these boxes. So it's a FLISSA knife. I'll link FLISSA down in the description. I will say this. It's pretty cool. It is really good for, I'm sure it's a super affordable knife. The detent, very snappy. Watch that thing. I mean, this thing kicks out fast. I mean, it just has such a solid detent. No detent lash, great pop, beautiful satin drop point blade in D2 steel. It came with a decently sharp edge, obviously green G10, good access to the lock bar. I like to make sure I have good access, and they did give you that here. And then we have a deep carry clip, not reversible, but it is, no, it's not inset, and it does not have flat screws, but those screws I don't think are going to pose an issue. The centering is off on mine. I didn't know. I was like trying to check, is the blade a little bent or something? I don't think so. I think I just need to adjust the pivot or something. Well, actually, yeah, I could probably just adjust the pivot. I haven't really messed with it. I have just opened and closed it, hung on to it. You know, I cut a little bit of cardboard, but not much, so nothing to really speak about. The lockup feels good on it. And just all around, you know, for, you know, a budget knife that you're just going to use as a beater, this is really cool. My negatives would be the name on the clip. Keep names off clips, guys. That makes you look like a bad company. I know there are some good companies that do it, but just, you know, don't think you're them, because you wind up looking like the other guys, the guys that put the names all over the clips and tend to be crappy knives. This is a solid knife, feels really good, and it's something that I would have no problem carrying and using. T6 hardware, I wish there were T8s, but other than that, I mean, it is riding on bearings, very smooth on the drop, and you know, it's a great blade shape and great size. Next is the new Jackwolf Vampire. I freaking love the Jackwolf fixed blades. Here is the folder folding Vampire, you can see how much larger it is than the fixed blade. The fixed blade is a small little guy. Now, while I like the Vampire folder, I wish there was a little bit more blade popping out, even though I can get it really easily. I just like to have like something like this where it's like a lot sticking out, so I can literally just grip it and rip it. Listen to this walk and talk. One of the best walk and talk knives. Now, the fixed blade. Oh my goodness. I love his fixed blades. I love the first one. This one is the second one he has done. We have a spear point full hollow. So the hollow goes from the spine all the way down to the edge. Very, very thin S90V, full tang blade, titanium scales on this one, but there is like 4 other options. So you got different flavors. Then we have a leather pocket sheath. Now you could carry this directly in your, I shouldn't have said pocket, but you can carry this directly in your pocket, you know, just using this like a clip. Or you can put this on the belt, which is the way it's designed for your belt to go through there. That little hook stops it from pulling out. Now, I did make a mistake. And I was recording, you know, me, carrying it and stuff. And while I was putting it in the sheath and recording it, I should have known better, completely my fault. I put my finger down here and I pressed it until like, you know, I just pressed it too far. And when you're talking about something this slicey with this type of precision, you got to be careful because I pushed right through the bottom, right into my finger, got myself pretty good. Luckily, I was able to take advantage of that opportunity and shout out the Band-Aids that we have on the Neve Knife Co site. I did get those Band-Aids that I'm always raving about that my medic, you know, has. We got them from them and we are selling them on the Neve Knife Co site. They are the best Band-Aids in the world, in my opinion. They're breathable, they stretch, they fold and wrap around like any type of you know, spot. I think that they are the best Band-Aids in the world. And what I also love about them is that because they breathe, they allow the wound to heal without it getting moist underneath and burning and feeling like you have to constantly change it. Even when I've gotten them wet, they seem to dry really quickly. But anyways, shameless shout out, right? Shameless plug. So I make sure when I put this thing back in, I always just put it up to this line, maybe a little bit more. And right there, I have plenty of room where nothing's gonna happen. I wound up burying it to like right there, and that's why it came out. So I just make sure I use this line as a reference of like, that's where I'm gonna go, maybe a little bit further, but that's it. And let the leather mold around it. When the leather is molded all the way around it really nicely, it'll kind of stop itself. But at first, you have to push it and form it. And that's why I allowed it to push through to my finger, even though I should have known better. I had seen some people making comments on the Instagram post, you know, like that there was a problem. No, it's a problem because I pushed it way too hard and I should have known better. But I love the sheath. I think the stitching is amazing. I love the wolf on it. I think that looks really cool. One thing I do is I kind of wish it had an attachment for an Alti clip or something so you could bury it in your pocket. The titanium lanyard bead, I'm not a big fan of lanyards, but in this case I do like it because this is it's a compact fixed blade, so I can grip like that, pop it out, and then I have the full thing, you know, because it is basically like a 3-finger knife. I can get 4 on there if I really choke it. Pinch grips are where it's at though. It's going to be a great little user for day-to-day use. Yes, they are expensive. I get it, but you know, I think a lot of people, and me now dealing with, you know, some of the stuff overseas, you know, you do get a little bit better insight into, you know, the amount you earn and things like that. And in many cases, you deal with stuff that does bring the price up that, you know, you wouldn't just think of, you know, like when you're thinking of a company, a lot of times there, you know, there's costs that you don't see. So, you know, while I do think it's an expensive one, I will say this, I can't think of other fixed blade knives or slip joints that add up to this quality. I really can't. Like, I've sat there and tried to think of it, unless if they are like custom or something like that. But as far as productions go, I can't think of any that are as good as these, you know. And if they are, they're not better. So awesome, awesome knife. Now let's get to the next one. The next one is the Toddler from Besttech. Now, Besttech, man, what a name, the Toddler. So we have a little Toddler here, and it has a sheep's foot blade in 14C 28N, came with a very sharp edge, looks like a PVD coating. We have the purple G10 handles, also with the black hardware and black liner. I do like the black and purple. I wish the back spacer was black. That's the only other thing. Deep carry clip that's inset with flat screws, not reversible. The G10 handle only has the liner on this side, so this side is just G10, keeping it, you know, relatively lightweight. Good access to the lock bar, or at least decent. They did cut this back a little bit, chamfered the edge. Very, very smooth. Now, the whole deployment is tight for the reverse flick. I can get it pretty much every, oh, no, not, I guess not every time, but the thumb is not very good unless you could choke weight, unless you put your thumb way down here. Like I said, the reverse flick's just not the most satisfying. There's not much hanging out there, and it's not sharp. If this edge was sharp, it'd be so much better. But it does, you can do it though. Then you have the top flipper, which does not have any jimping or texturing on it. So it's smooth right here, but it has like this little hook. So you can reach over, the side finger works well, and you can do the top. But because it hides itself behind the scales right there, you cannot roll it over. Right? It hides itself, which I prefer a knife that I can roll over. So if it gets misfired, I can at least, you know, swing or roll it out, I guess. But I mean, you can always flick your wrist, obviously. So I'm not a big fan of this flipper. I'm not a big fan of this whole deployment. This one, to me, I'm not a huge fan of. I like the knife overall, and for lefties, I think this would be great because you have more access on this side than this side. So it is a cool one for lefties, but for me personally, as a righty, I just don't, you know, I'm not a big fan. If this front flipper was a little different, and also another thing, while I know a detent can't be too strong for a front flipper, this one is just a little bit light for this style front flipper. I don't know. It's personally just me. I'm not going to sit here and beat it up too bad. Some things are for you, some things are not. I do like the designer, and I love a lot of his other designs. You know, so, you know, it's not that I don't like his work. It's just, you know, maybe this one just doesn't speak to me. And next we have the new Vostid SCOP. It does come with extra Omega springs, and you know, this is the mini, obviously, because there is the large one. And these scales on this one are this gorgeous, I'm not sure what they're calling them, but it's like a burgundy, a maroon G10 that looks really good, and I know as it ages it's going to turn into this dark rich red, or dark rich, I don't know, maroon. Drop point blade with a satin finish, LMAX steel. The access to the crossbar lock is really, really good. Very, very snappy. The thumb studs I love. They have nice texturing on them. They stick out well. For a tiny knife, it's very easy to deploy. A lot of times with a knife this small, not that I'm not good at thumb studding it open, but this one just seems a little bit easier than the majority. For some reason, whatever, you know, I don't know if it's the scales. The texturing is really good on this. It's nice, and it's got some grip to it. So, you know, when you're hanging on to it, it doesn't feel, even though it's small, like it doesn't feel like it's gonna like flop out of your hand or anything, which sometimes can feel that way. I can get a full 4-finger grip, especially, you know, if choking up, but the pinch grip is gonna be awesome for this thing. It's just that perfect size. And then you have just enough belly to do anything you're gonna wanna do with the belly. The back spacer does have a, I don't know what this is. I think it's aluminum. And then we have a deep carry clip that is reversible. Not inset, but it does have flat screws. Love to see that. And the hardware is T6s. I wish they were T8s, but not that big of a deal. Yeah, not that big of a deal. The pivot's very small, but it's a small knife. So I like it. I've liked the SCOP. I don't know the price right off the top of my head. But I'll say, you know, if the price fits your budget and you're happy with it, it's a cool knife. Really cool. Actually, my favorite model from Vostid is the large PSYOP. So next is a model from OKNIFE. Now, I can't remember if I featured this in a video already. I think I did, but I feel like I should speak about it again because this, in my opinion, is by far their best model yet. I think that they did a bang-up job with this. We have a titanium handle with this awesome texturing, and then we have, you know, a titanium frame lock, obviously. Deep carry clip that's inset with flat screws and reversible. And we have like a clamshell construction, hidden lanyard back there, phenomenal access to the lock bar, and the blade steel's Nitro V, so it helps keep the price down. Thumb stud action is perfection. Like, they just land in a great spot. You have a ton of room. They chamfered the edge. They made it where it's just like such an easy one to grip, grab, and flick out there. And then because the access to the lock bar is so good, it's a very comfortable disengagement. I used to say it all the time, man. You can make a knife feel so much more premium just by making sure the disengagement and closing of the knife is very comfortable. If this is sharp, man, it makes the knife feel so cheap, in my opinion. This has amazing ergonomics. This handle shape just fits really well into just about anybody's hand. Drop point blade, Nitro V, phenomenal steel. I love the steel. It's a great budget steel. I would even consider it a mid-range steel. Good edge retention. Well, decent edge retention. It's, you know, like a 3.5, 4 out of 10 in edge retention. Amazing toughness, and then amazing corrosion resistance. So you're getting a very well-rounded steel on this one without paying an arm and a leg because it's not a super steel. Now, this is not a front flipper. I can wrist it and pop it, you know, but it's not meant for that. So don't think you're gonna. You might be able to, but I wouldn't, you know, be upset if you couldn't because it's not for that. All in all, I think it's dope. The T6s on the clip, I wish were T8s. I wish this was a T8. Other than that, the rest of them are T8s. I love that the thumb studs are removable because, you know, if somebody wants to clamp a fixed angle knife sharpening system to this, they can. I don't think these ones will need to be removed though. Pretty sure you'll be able to get it. The sharpen tool and plunge grind could be better though. I wish that this had like a bigger half a moon right there so the edge didn't start till right there, giving you some distance away from the plunge grind, especially with an all blacked out blade. The DURAN from OKNIFE is, man, like I said, their best model yet. My last little negative is just this logo. I'm not a fan of the logo. It just reminds me of Hot Wheels. But man, what a dope knife. They did a really good job on this one. The ceramic bearings feel really, really smooth. It has a very premium feel to it. While, you know, like I said, I like that they did the Nitro V steel instead of a super steel, particularly on this model. So there you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Till next time. Peace.